Welcome to Tay's Tech News, your go-to podcast for all the latest in tech. I'm your host, Taylor. Today we've got some exciting news for all you gaming enthusiasts out there. Sony is stirring up the gaming community with a nostalgic wave as they partner with implicit conversions to potentially bring classic PS2 games to the PS Plus premium service. This collaboration is particularly intriguing because Implicit Conversations isn't just any company. It was co-founded by industry veterans, including former Ubisoft and Sony employees. One of the co-founders even had a hand in developing the well-known PS2 emulator PCSX2 before joining the ranks at PlayStation. Now, this isn't just a rumor that's been floating around. The buzz began after an interview with Time Extension, which was later retracted with an apology calling it a mistake. But the plot thickens as eagle-eyed Redditors discovered Implicit Conversations' LinkedIn page, which explicitly mentioned working with Sony to bring not just PS2, but also PS1 and PSP games to modern consoles. The story took another twist when Time Extension edited their feature and Implicit Conversations follows suit, updating their LinkedIn to a more generic statement about working with clients to bring games from various classic consoles to modern platforms. Despite the confusion, one thing is clear. PS Plus subscribers are clamoring for new PS2 titles. It's been a top request since the service's revamp, and it looks like Sony might just be listening. I look forward to learning if these rumors turn out to be true or not. I'm already excited for the re-release of Star Wars Battlefront Classic later this week. Moving on to the next story. Samsung is making waves in the smartphone market with the announcement of its latest mid-range contenders, the Galaxy A55 and Galaxy A35. These new additions to Samsung's lineup are set to hit the market in the coming months, and they are already gathering buzz with their blend of familiar design and upgraded specs. Both models boast impressive 6.6-inch FHD Plus Super AMOLED displays with a smooth 120Hz refresh rate, come equipped with Android 14 right out of the box, and are powered by a hefty 5,000 mAh battery to keep you connected all day long. The Galaxy A55, being the higher-end model, steps up the game with its camera setup, featuring a 50-megapixel primary camera, complemented by a 12-megapixel ultra-wide and a 5-megapixel micro camera, not to mention a 32-megapixel selfie camera. The Galaxy A35, on the other hand, sports a similar 50-megapixel main camera, but pairs it with a slightly less powerful 8-megapixel ultra-wide and a 5-megapixel micro camera, along with a 13-megapixel front-facing camera. When it comes to memory and storage, the A55 leads with 8GB of RAM in its base variant, offering options of 128GB or 256GB of storage, and a beefier 256GB variant that boasts 12GB of RAM. The A35 starts with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, with additional 8GB of RAM options at both 128 and 256GB storage capacities. While Samsung has kept the lid on the exact chipset, the rumor mill suggests the A55 might be powered by the Exynos 1480 and the A35 by the Exynos 1380. In line with Samsung's commitment to longevity, both devices come with the promise of 4 years of major Android updates and 5 years of security patches, leaving the Galaxy S24 series as the only one with a 7-year update guarantee. The exact release dates are still under wraps, but we can expect these smartphones to make a global entrance in the next couple of months. Moving on to our next big story. Apple is gearing up to make a splash in the tech world with its anticipated iOS 18 software update. According to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, 2024 could be the year Apple infuses more AI into its ecosystem than ever before. While Apple often makes a measured approach to emerging tech, iOS 18 is poised to offer us a peek into Apple's vision for generative AI. Generative AI has been the talk of the tech town, with companies like Google and Microsoft racing to keep pace with OpenAI's ChatGPT. Counterpoint Research projects that over 100 million generative AI smartphones will ship this year alone. McKinsey & Company's survey echoes this statement, revealing that 1/3 of organizations are already harnessing generative AI for business. Despite its absence from the early generative AI race, Apple is now stirring curiosity about what it might bring to iPhones, especially as Samsung and Google introduce AI-powered features like Circle to Search on Android devices. Apple's CEO Tim Cook has hinted at significant plans for generative AI, sparking speculation that iOS 18 could be a game changer, potentially overshadowing even the iPhone 16. Bloomberg suggests that the upcoming update could be one of Apple's most substantial in years, filled with new AI-driven features, from a more advanced Spotlight search to auto-generated playlists in Apple Music, and possibly a more sophisticated Siri. The possibilities are endless. With Samsung and Google phones already showcasing generative AI capabilities, all eyes are on Apple to see how they'll integrate this technology into their devices. The iPhone 16 might only be a modest improvement over its predecessor, but with iOS 18, it's clear that the software is where the real excitement lies. And lastly, let's talk about Apple's latest move in the laptop market. Just over 4 months after the debut of the M3 chip and the 14-inch MacBook Pro, Apple has refreshed its MacBook Air lineup with the 13 and 15-inch models sporting the new chip. Here's the breakdown of the new offerings. The 13-inch M3 MacBook Air starts at $1099, featuring an 8-core CPU and GPU and 256 gigabytes of storage. For $1299, you can either get the same 13-inch model with a 10-core GPU and double the storage, or opt for the larger 15-inch M3 MacBook Air with the same specs as the base 13-inch MacBook Air. The 14-inch M3 MacBook Pro is still the top-tier option at $1599, boasting a 10-core GPU and 512 gigabytes of storage. Apple hasn't forgotten about the budget-conscious, replacing the old M1 model with the M2 MacBook Air at $999. All models come with 8 gigabytes of RAM, upgradable to 16 gigabytes or 24 gigabytes for an additional cost, and storage options that can be expanded up to 1 terabyte. One feature that does separate the new $1099 M3 Air versus the $999 M2 Air is the SSD speeds. On the M2 Air, you need to buy upgraded storage in order to get a faster SSD. Now, the base M3 Air comes with the faster SSD out of the box. The design language across the MacBook range is now unified, with the Air models being the similar, lighter options and the Pro models offering more ports and features. Starting at $999, you can get your hands on a modern MacBook, and for a few $100s more, you can step up to the Pro level with enhanced features and performance. Apple's lineup is now neatly categorized into the consumer/pro quadrant, making it easier than ever to choose the right MacBook for your needs without getting tangled in technical details. Whether you're looking for a budget-friendly option or high-performance machines, Apple's current MacBook lineup is arguably the strongest it's ever been, all thanks to the seamless integration of Apple Silicon. For those looking for an even cheaper option, check out Apple's refurbished site for certified refurbished MacBooks and other products. Also, be sure to check your local Best Buy for any refurbished or open box deals. I bought my personal M1 MacBook Air open box from Best Buy, and it's worked perfectly over the last couple of years. That's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned to Tay's Tech News for more updates on all things tech. Thank you, and have a great day.